Hey everybody, one of the viewers sent me a link to Adorama TV where Gavin Hoey, he's from the UK, came into New York, was doing a photo shoot there, doing some creative things, and he did something with a big round black balloon that he put behind a model and then photographed that, especially with lights and stuff. And he was asking, could we do something like that, similar in Photoshop, and we don't have to worry about an object or balloon back there? And so I watched the video and I came up with this. Let's take a look at this right now. This is one that I'm sharing with you right now. And again, just a stock image I'm using here. It was shot on a black background, but I did a shape, and you can do some really cool creative things in Photoshop. Let's take a look at this. I did a wavy line. I'll show you how to do wavy lines like that. I actually changed it where I put, say, a gradient in the background with just to add some, some different type of look to this. Did a square with lines, just doing some creative things. I'm going to build this for you, or I'm going to use that subject matter right there and show you the ABCs of how to build this. And then the last one here, I'm doing more with color and stuff. So are we ready for this? Let's get involved in doing some creative graphic artwork in Photoshop. Let's do it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, this is dedicated to photography and as a photo artist, pushing ourselves creatively out of the box. Okay, this is going to be a fun one. I'm going to give you some ABCs and expect you to put in your own personality and twists and variations. Hopefully you'll pick up some techniques here with me using Photoshop. But before I do that, I want to talk about a photo shoot. If you're going to shoot somebody like a portrait versus you're going to do, say, a still life, determine what kind of background you're going to use. So an example, here's the image of a model. And what's really nice about shooting the model with a black background is when I do a cutout, the cutout doesn't have to be perfect around the hair. And because any kind of halo that I might get with the selection tool when I do a cutout, which will make more sense in a few minutes, that will blend in nice because it came from a black background and I'm using black shapes in the background there. So any imperfection would be covered, if that makes sense. Versus if I cut something out from a white background, I might have a white halo and stuff. I got a lot of fixing up to do. So in other words, I'm going to do black objects in the background. I want to shoot my subject matter with a black background, and it just makes my life a whole lot easier. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, let's jump into Photoshop and let's take a look at creative artwork using Photoshop. Okay, so the first thing I want to do in Photoshop is prep the image I'm going to use for this piece of artwork. So right here in Photoshop, I'm just going to double click on my workspace area to get the open dialog box. You would just navigate to find the image you're going to work with. This is the one I chose. And I'm going to click on open. Now again, because this was shot on a black background, I have good contrast between the subject and the background for my cutout. And then this is going to go into a black, say, shape. And so if it's not that perfect, it should just blend in real nice and easy. So what I'm going to do here is go to the File drop-down menu, choose New. And I'm going to choose my width is 12 inches, the height 8 inches, 300 resolution. I'm assuming when I create this, I'm going to print this in the future maybe. And I just want to be on the safe side. The last thing I want to do is say, oh, I'm not going to use this. I'm just going to put it on social media, so I need a low res. Then I decided, oh, wow, I really like this. And now I'm forced to sample it up and the quality is not going to be that great. So just my thinking is I'm always thinking that I might print this. If I don't, and I'm using it for social media, yeah, I can downsize it and stuff afterwards. That's no problem. I just don't want to upscale. So I'm going to click on Create, and this is my starting point to build my project. I'm going to come back to the photograph here, and I'm going to do Control-J or Command-J on a Mac to duplicate the layer. And then what I'm going to do, and this will make more sense in a few minutes, I'm going to click on the background. I'm going to come down to the Oreo cookie dipped in milk, and I'm going to choose a solid color, and I want to make sure it's black. and click on OK. Now this will make sense in a few minutes. When I select the subject here, this is the photograph now, so I turn that on and off. I'm going to go to my contextual taskbar, which I have pinned at the very top of my program right here. And you can see remove background. Yours might be floating down here. If you don't see the contextual taskbar, make sure you go to Windows drop-down menu. Almost to the very bottom, you'll see contextual taskbar. Just make sure that's selected. Now I'm just going to choose remove background. Let it do its thing. There we go. And this is my, let me turn off the background there. So if I turn this layer off that has a solid color, that is my cutout. And it's hard to see, well, is it any good or not? So that's why I put this solid color there. So I actually can view this and check it and go, okay, that looks really good. It did a good job. I don't have to do, say, any, imperfection type work or cleanup work. Okay, now that I have that done, some other things to think about is you might want to adjust your image. In other words, let me go here to the very top, and I might look at this and say, I'm going to come down here to the Oreo cookie dipped in milk, and I'm going to choose brightness and contrast because maybe I want to push the brightness up a bit, maybe pull my contrast down a little bit. So this is just, you're fine-tuning everything. If I want to come down here again and choose maybe, I don't know, let's do a hue and saturation. And then you're maybe adjusting the hue. Maybe you want a different color look in the vase. That's all up to you. In fact, let me do that. Let me just change that a little bit. Let me go toward, well, let's see. Nah, you know what? Changed my mind. I'm going to leave that alone. But maybe my saturation be pulled down a little bit so you can fine tune that. So there's a before and after. Very subtle change. But here's what's important. After you get done with this, I need to transfer this over to my project now. And if you're new to Photoshop or just new to this channel, what I'm going to do is create what's called a visible stamp layer, and I'm purposely going to make a mistake. A visible stamp layer is, I'm at the top of my stack, and all the layers it visibly sees, it's going to consolidate it and put it at the very top by me doing Shift-Control-Alt-E. That'd be Shift-Command-Option-E on a Mac, and it consolidated everything to the top. Well, this image right there, if I turn it off and on, you don't see any difference because all this down here is the same. I don't want the black background. I made a mistake, so I'm going to delete that. So what I want to do is get rid of the black background right there, go back to my top stack, and notice that these two are not visible. Shift-Control-Alt-E, Shift-Command-Option-E on a Mac consolidates only the visible layers it saw. Now I can take this and move it in to my project, drop it in, resize that, Control-T, Command-T on a Mac, dictate the size, whatever you want it to be. I'm going to position that right there, enter on the keyboard. And now we're going to build the graphic artwork in the back, and I'll give you some techniques and tricks. Are we ready? Let's do it. Okay, now we start adding our shapes in design, and this is the area that you can get really creative. So the first thing I'm going to do here in Photoshop is select the background layer right here, and then I'm going to add a new layer. So I'm going to click on this icon right down here. And when I click on that, it just creates a blank new layer right there. So I want to physically be on that. It's up to you what you want to grab. There's a rectangle marquee tool, an elliptical marquee tool. I'm going to choose the elliptical one to show you that you can click and drag. Maybe you want an elliptical shape. I'm going to undo that. Maybe you want a perfect circle, which I do on this one. So I'm going to hold the Shift key down, click and drag, and let go. And there's my circle. Now, because I didn't do a good job, I didn't position it right, and it's not the right size. I need it to be bigger based on my vision where I want to go with my project here. Always remember this. Once you make your selection, now it could be a square, rectangle, doesn't matter. With the selection still active there, if you go to the select drop-down menu, you could choose transform selection, and now it's like the free transform tool. You can adjust the size of this. So I'm going to go to the corners and say I want that to be about this size right here. and go, let's see, do I want that like that? Yeah, that's good enough for me. Enter the keyboard. Because again, it's just a demo project here for you. So once I have that done, I'm not sure if I want this moved, because this, is off center, but this is all centered. So again, that's your artistic interpretation. If you prefer to, have the circle more centered with the vase down here, that's totally up to you. But now that I have that active selection, that's the key thing on this layer, the blank layer, I want to fill that with black. So I'm going to come down here and make sure this is black. Let's pretend it was a different color because you were doing something, I don't know, the other day. Well, to get this back to black and white, just tap on the letter D like in David, and that would make it black and white. But if the black is on the bottom for some reason, select the letter X on your keyboard and it flip-flops your chip color. So just make sure, again, black is on the top. And with that layer selected that has the selection on it, I'm just going to do Alt-Delete. And if you're on a Mac, that should be Option-Delete. And it quickly just fills in that black color. And I just drop that shape there. Now I want to get rid of the marching ants, so I'm just going to do Control-D like in David, Command-D on a Mac, just, again, a quick shortcut keystroke. Again, you might say, oh, I don't like that. It should be centered. Again, I'm going to leave that up to you, okay? You're the artist on that. But for me, I'm going to leave that alone because I want more of this maybe, to be centered right there. Now I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to add another layer, and I'm going to move this down so it's below. And then I'm going to grab the rectangle tool right here. And I'm going to come up here. This is where you can have fun. I'm going to do some variations here. I'm going to do about that size right there. Once I got that done, Alt-Delete. And again, that would be Option-Delete on a Mac. And I'm just going to get rid of my marching ants there. And now I'm going to add another layer. And I'm just going to keep it below that again. And I'm going to grab the marquee tool again, but instead of a thick line, I'm going to do really a skinny line like this. Something like that, just to be different. And then Alt-Delete. Option-Delete on a Mac to fill that in and then to deselect that. Now, a little bit of a shortcut here. If I grab my Move tool up here, my toolbar, or toolbox right there, come over here. If I hold the Alt key down, Option on a Mac, and again, I'm on this layer here. If I click and hold, again, I'm just holding the Alt key down. I click down with the mouse, click and drag. It drops in a duplicate line. I'm doing it again. I'm holding that Alt key down, Option on a Mac, and do it again. And just sort of eyeballing this. And you could do as many as you want. Now that I have that done, I'm going to play with this. These lines, I'm not going to include this one, the thick one. I'm going to do something different here. I'm going to select this, hold the Shift key down, click on the very last layer that has the lines there, and I'm going to do Control-E, Command-E on a Mac. So now they're all consolidated on a separate layer, so I can turn those on and off. Okay, versus this one right there. I left that one by itself because you might like this right now. I'm not saying, hey, this could be done if this is what you want as your finished project. But I just want to show you something. If I select these lines right here, there's a feature we've had in Photoshop for many, many years. If I go to the filter drop-down menu and it comes down to a category called, let's see, it is stylized, I believe. Oh, am I looking at render? I think it's render. Nope, I'm having, let's go to distort. There we go, distort, I'm sorry. And let's go to wave as the category right here. And then when this opens up, you could add the number of waves you want. I'm going to push that back to like one wave. But again, you can play with it. You can see it adjust there. I'm going to pull that across. Maybe I want it to look like this. And the amplitude, let's do that. And then the rest I'll leave alone. But again, you're visually seeing what that's doing right there. Maybe that's a little bit too much. I'm going to push that back a little bit. Hopefully that works out. And there you go. I don't know if I like that or not, but I'm just trying to give you some ideas. And by the way, if you're learning anything here, do me a favor, and that is please like the video, subscribe to if you're not subscribed, hit that notification bell. Next time I upload a video, you'll get notified on that. So again, maybe I should have included this one. You're the artist. You make the decision. Just dive in and have some fun. Maybe I didn't want to have this as a circle. Maybe I should have made that an elliptical shape instead. Maybe it should have been a square. These are things you get to play with and stuff. Maybe over here, I want to pull the opacity down on this. So now it's not, again, 100% black. Totally up to you. You can have fun with this. And then I'll also think about maybe I'm going to click on the background here, Control O, Command O to get my open dialog box. And I'm going to grab a texture. I just found this texture I had, and I'm just going to drop it in to the project. Control T, Command T on a Mac. Now this could be in color if you want. I mean, it's all up to you. In fact, I'll talk about where you can maybe do some color for yourself. Enter on the keyboard. You might like that. You might say, well, it's a little bit too strong. I could pull the opacity down here if you want. If you don't like the texture to be seen, maybe right mouse click and let's choose to convert to a smart object right here. And that way I can go to filter drop down menu and choose blur. And let's choose a Gaussian blur. And you can play with the blur to get the look that you want. And then click on OK. And because it's a smart object layer, I can change my mind by double clicking on the word Gaussian blur. And that opens that up, and I could push it back if I want, or push it up. It's all up to you. So it gives you some flexibility. Or consider doing something like this. Let me turn that off. And again, I'm just going to be right here in the background and come here to the Oreo cookie dipped in milk, and let's choose a gradient. And then I'll just double click right there to open up a dialog box. And let's go to, I don't know, like purples maybe. And again, I'm just playing with this, and you can click on this and say, ooh, I like that, or I like this, or whatever, something like that, okay? And then click on OK. If you want to reverse it, there's a reverse checkbox right there. I think I'd like it better that way. And again, I'm just shooting from the hip here, just having fun playing with this. And then maybe I'm going to go back to this layer right there that has the squiggly lines, the waves on it, and pull the opacity down just to add some creativity. Hopefully you're learning something. Hopefully you understand just the concept and principle of this. Number one, just a quick review here. Photographing something with the same color as your background that you're going to use in this project. Since I want to use black shapes, I want to photograph my still life with a black background. If it's a portrait of a person that I want to use, should be shot with a black background. That way, especially with hair, if I cut out and it's not perfect with the hair and I get any kind of like halo, well, since it was on a black background, that halo is going to be like medium gray to dark gray. It's going to blend in because I'm using, again, the black background objects right there. And it's going to look perfect. So hopefully that makes sense. Try this with one of your images. Have fun with this. And please do me a favor. You guys practice this technique. Find something you really like. Save it. Send me a copy of that as a JPEG to email addresses right here, stephenphotoartist@gmail.com. And I'll feature that in the next Philosophy of a Photo Artist that I always feature once a month on a Saturday. So have fun with this. Think creatively out of the box, and I mean literally out of the box. Till next time, see ya.